how would you sort of define like who you're talking to right now? And it can change, this changes, but how would you define your sort of ideal customer?
I would say actually, so when I was looking at ideal customers, I know that this is not something you're supposed to do, but I was really thinking about myself. And I was
Yeah,
also,
no, I do that all the time.
yeah, and I was also thinking also with my friends as well, because I guess the reason why I started Lily Pads was because I got sick from using a pad. And
Hmm.
then so I guess with that whole journey, I realized that actually at the end of the day, it boils down to making sure that you use organic products because there could be a lot of it's like a really gray area in terms of like conventional products. Like there could be a lot of toxins or chemicals that you might not even be aware of because they don't disclose that information to you.
Hmm.
So I would say when I was thinking about the brand, I was really thinking about myself and I was like, okay, so what qualities do I have? Because I'm pretty sure that there's other people who might resonate with them similar like values or similar interests as well. And one of the biggest things that I have to say over the last couple years or so is really just taking more responsibility for my health. And so I was like, I really want to be able to reach out to the health community and to people who, for example, really want to make that extra step closer towards better health, but maybe they don't know what areas that they could improve on.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like where I was targeting. And I was also looking at like women like around my age, like between 25 to 35,
Hmm.
and who are also technologically savvy because I guess my business is online
Yeah.
at the moment. So
Yes.
yeah, so just like looking at different qualities, and I find that as much as people talk about millennials, definitely
Yeah.
my audience is definitely in the millennial.
Yeah.
Um, I would say millennial women,
Hmm.
and
Definitely.
I would say also they are the one thing about millennials. I know that we get a lot of flack in the media.
It's like a bad
We get
stigma,
a
but I
bad
don't
rap,
think it's a
yeah.
bad thing. Yes.
But at the same time, like we actually have a lot of really good qualities about
Hmm.
ourselves as well. Like we're very socially conscious
Hmm.
and we're also technologically savvy as well.
Hmm.
And those two things are very powerful combinations in this day and age, at least I would say. So
What is the most important message that you think Lily Pads is here to communicate to your community? What is the main thing that you want your community to hear from your brand platform?
so I would say with lily pads, I really it's been a huge emphasis of mine, to be able to provide organic, toxic free period products to women in both the US as
Hmm.
well as Canada. And I mean, a lot of it is just really, it really kind of just touches me personally. I know I mentioned it earlier, but
Hmm.
basically, I ended up getting really sick from using a pad on a family trip.
Hmm.
And that was really my wake up call. And actually, there were a series of things that happened during that period in time as well, where
Hmm.
I was working a really really stressful job, very demanding hours. I wasn't eating well, or I wasn't exercising properly. I wasn't getting enough sleep.
Hmm.
So many things that kind of
Contributed.
happened at that time. And then it was really just that one incident where I used a pad. I was so sick that I couldn't walk because I
Oh
was in
my
so much pain.
gosh.
And it was that when I had the wake up call where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And then
Yeah.
that was also kind of the period where I was like, what goes into my period products? Because like,
Hmm.
I just really wanted to just put a reset button on my life.
Hmm.
And I think that was kind of where the whole idea of lily pad started, because more research I did on periods and like what products we're using, the more I realized that actually we should be using healthier products. I mean, if you eat organic food, you should also be using organic period products
Yes,
because
absolutely. I remember
oh
you saying that to me early on, and I was like, yeah, duh. Like, I
yeah,
didn't, you don't think about it, but like, yeah, duh. Like,
yeah, it's like one of those things where it seems so like obvious and maybe it doesn't seem as
it,
obvious.
it is. It really is. I have to say, like, working with you and working on this project in particular, I learned a lot. And
Yeah,
that was such a perk of taking a project like this on. But I remember you saying that to me super early on that, like, I am someone who cares about what I put in my body. And I am someone who,
yeah,
spends a little bit more money to get a better product, or, like a better, like,
yeah,
food product that I would eat, or I am that
yeah,
kind of person. And then when you were like, so why don't we care about what we're sort of putting in our bodies? I was like,
yeah,
yeah, like you just take it for granted that, if I go to the store and get tampons or pads or panty liners, like that's fine. And that's sort of goes in hand with you have to take your own health and well-being in your own hands.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
it's fine to, I think it's fine, like, to trust in people and trust in products, but you really do have to stop taking that for granted and really, really try and understand and educate yourself on what is going into products, and also what happens to those products after you use them. We also
Yeah,
take for granted that we throw it in the garbage, or wherever we throw it,
yeah,
then we just stop thinking about it. But like, really, what happens after?
exactly. And I would say this, your health is really an investment. It's a
Mhm.
very long-term investment. So, if you can put some extra money aside or budget some extra money to be able to maintain your health, I think that's really important.
Mhm.
And also, also to put it into context as well, an average woman uses around 10,000 products in her lifetime.
Which is insane.
It's insane.
You just take for granted that these products are in your best interest, and it's really up to you to kind of like educate yourself. And I think that this whole process,
Yeah.
for me at least, has been such a good educational process. So
Well,
yeah.
thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad I'm so glad that you've even just shifted how I think about this stuff.
Yeah.
So, question for you now is, do you think the brand and branding helps you stand out in this particular industry? And kind of how so? So like, how does brand play into you standing out from amongst big corporations of competing kind of,
So I would
business?
say right now, in terms of my branding, I have had a lot of really good feedback from, I guess, my Instagram page, my
Yes.
Facebook page. People seem to really like the packaging.
Yes.
And I think
I've also had the
actually,
same feedback on packaging. Like, people are like really, really into the
they love
packaging.
the packaging.
Yeah.
But beyond the packaging, I think a lot of people really connect with the message
Mhm.
that it's important to take matters or your health into your own hands. And so far, actually, even with the customer feedback, they say that the whole company, they feel really happy because I'm not, well, right now it's currently a one-woman show.
Mhm.
But the one thing that they do really appreciate is the fact that I can treat them like, as silly as it sounds, like a human being.
Yeah.
With the customer service or just talking and just not having all of those barriers, they can just kind of reach me at,
Mhm.
you know, at my email.
Yeah.
And the branding voice makes a big difference because I think that if anything, having that kind of like small, how did I say it? Small company feel?
Yeah, like small business.
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it really helps you connect well with your audience. And I find that so far I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of different women's group as well. And I think they really, really like or resonate with the message that periods are natural, your product should be too.
I love that.
Yeah, and just being able to connect with the company on a more personal basis.
I think
Yeah.
that's huge. And I think I really liked when we were sort of working on the brand, sort of like almost like the brand voice and direction of things, that we were sort of destigmatizing even like the periods. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
like, you can go on other, I don't know, other product websites, or you see commercials, and it's like, has anyone ever even actually said like the words that come up with these things? Like, it's like seems so
Yeah.
taboo. And we sort of talked earlier on in the early stages about sort of just like breaking that barrier a
Yeah.
bit.
I
And
would
even,
say,
yeah, even on your website, I love how even when we land kind of on the homepage, there's this like educational story to it that,
yeah.
it talks about your vagina health, and it talks about
Yeah. It does.
periods and that they're natural. And it sort of breaks that barrier that these other, these other companies sort of try and hide, and it feels almost like shameful. So I feel like the
Yeah.
brightness and like I just really love